haircut. I hate it. I really don't like it. What's up, everybody? Today, I'm gonna recap my turkey tour from this past spring and how I met the hunting public guys. So if you're missing turkey hunting as much as I am, you can go back and watch some of these videos. My turkey tour started in Mississippi. I got to Mississippi 2 days before the season opened, did some scouting, and I wasn't finding much. So I spent the next 2 days scouting, trying to find turkeys. I had a couple more days on my tag left, and so I decided to pick up and try a new area, see if I had better luck in a different area. Because I was there for 4 or 5 days, I think, and never heard a gobble. I saw one hen. Packed up, went to a different part of Mississippi to hunt. I saw way more sign at this one spot than I did, but I just think that turkeys don't really talk as much in Mississippi, or at least that's my experience and that's what I hear from a lot of people. So I'm leaving Mississippi pretty discouraged. Never heard a gobble. Got eyes on some strutting toms in private fields, but nothing close to public or nothing to really get me excited. So I'm leaving Mississippi pretty discouraged, headed to Alabama. So I get to this piece of public that I'm trying to go to. I'm having trouble accessing it. I get to the public, I do a little bit of scouting. It doesn't look as good in person as it did on the map to me. So I decided to pick up and go somewhere else. On opening day, I scouted that piece of public for pretty much the entirety of the day. I didn't see any kind of sign until the very end of the day. I went back in there the next day and I think I heard a tom and a couple jakes gobbling. But that was the first gobble that I had heard on my turkey tour. And so I was freaking stoked. I was pumped to be on turkeys, to be in the game at least. Those turkeys, they ended up working away from me. I got back on the main road, tried running down it to cut them off, and I just never could get out in front of them, it seemed. I hunted those same turkeys for the next 2 days, I think. Just kind of kept running into the same problem. There was a bunch of public in the surrounding areas, so I decided to check that out and just open my options a little bit more. And so I drive to this other piece of public. I'm not there for 10 seconds before I see a strutting tom with a hen out in a private field, but they're working their way towards the public tree line. I kind of get a good idea of like what I think they're gonna do. I think they're gonna hang out in that area. And so I decide to go check out the campground on this piece of public and figure I'd stay there. Most of the time I've been staying in Walmart parking lots, but the Walmart was like an hour and a half away from this piece of public, so I was just gonna see about staying on that campground. So I pull into this campground, and in the very first spot, I see Zach and Ted laying there from the hunting public. And that's how I met the hunting public guys down in Alabama, living out of my van, turkey hunting. I go up to them, start talking, and end up camping next to them for the next 4 or 5 days. One thing leads to another, and eventually, once they left Alabama to go to Georgia, Aaron got in touch with me and asked if I would be interested in being an intern for them. So of course I did, and here I am now, THP headquarters as a hunting public intern. But anyways, the rest of my time in Alabama, it was crazy. Almost every day in that second piece of public that I went to in Alabama, I was in the game in some fashion. The rest of my Alabama was pretty action-packed. I had one turkey one day that was just hammering, and I ended up crawling within 30 yards of him. And then all of a sudden I hear police sirens, and some guy on the megaphone says, "The owner of this white van, if you're not back here in 15 minutes, then you will be towed." My camera didn't catch the guy on the microphone. It caught the police siren, but it didn't catch the microphone because it shut off right after that. So I'm 30 yards from this turkey, and I have to turn around and sprint back to my van so it doesn't get towed. I heard a ton of drumming in Alabama, but what would happen to me a lot is that they would just either be hugging that private public line. That private public line killed me in Alabama. They would be hugging it in some thick brush where I couldn't see them, but I could hear them drumming. They'd be within 50, 40 yards, but I'd be able to hear them, but I wouldn't be able to see them, and they just never ended up finishing or coming that closing distance. I left Alabama with a ton of just close calls, like should have killed this one. But after Alabama, I headed to Tennessee, took all of day one to scout, didn't get on anything, so I was just fretting at this point. I'd been turkey hunting for 20-some days, and I hadn't shot a turkey yet. And And so I was just really getting down on myself. And that evening of the first night, I am bouncing through like 3 different spots of what I'm gonna try in the morning. Eventually, I just end up going somewhere completely new, somewhere I hadn't even scouted. And I just decided I'm gonna hike up on this mountain, then I'm gonna listen down into this valley, and we're gonna see what happens. We're either gonna get a beautiful sunrise, because the weather's gonna be beautiful for the next 3 days, or we're gonna get on some turkeys. I got up that morning, hiked up the mountain, and I kid you not, one starts hammering at me from like 200 yards away. So I sprint down this mountain, all the way down to where I'm about level with him, just on the opposite face of the opposite ridge. And so I get set up, start calling, he's hammering back at me, and eventually I hear him fly down out of the tree and land on my ridge, just like on the other side of my ridge. All he's got to do is come up and over, and then I tried to set it up to where he'd be in range when that happened. He popped up and he was sitting at, I think he came up and over at like 45, and he started moving down towards my left a little bit, and I had a deadfall to where I couldn't see him. He starts moving on this deadfall, and once he's out of sight from me, I turn to move the camera. But it turns out that there was like a little hole that he could see underneath the deadfall. And so when I moved the camera, he saw me move and he picked me. I heard him start to putt, and it started to panic. As soon as he came back and I could see him, I squeezed off a shot at like 45. I didn't hit him, to say the least. Flew down across the valley, and I don't think I ever saw that turkey again. Set up on 3 different turkeys that morning. I will say that after that one that I missed, my videos got a lot better. So I'm gonna save the recap for those videos. I'm gonna leave the links, and y'all can go and watch those videos. So this is my recap. Let me know in the comment section if you liked this recap. I kind of am just missing turkey season and love talking about turkeys. I could recap the rest of the hunt, but this video might be an hour long.